Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis were two of the biggest stars of Hollywood's golden age, and they starred together in the classic 1959 motion picture Some Like It Hot. Though their chemistry in the film certainly clicked with audiences, the real-life relationship between the pair has long since been a subject of debate amongst film historians. Tony Curtis claimed later in life that he and Marilyn had been involved in an affair during the filming of the movie, which was extramarital given that they were both married. However, other remarks the actor made call into question just how much the two stars really liked each other and whether or not the affair actually happened the way Tony claimed. Still, the pair certainly had a history together on and off screen, and many fans choose to take Tony's stories at face value. Join Facts First as we explore what really happened between Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis. During Hollywood's golden age, there were certain celebrities that shined brighter, and one of the preeminent icons of the time was Marilyn Monroe, who died tragically young after rocketing to superstardom. A slightly lesser icon from the time period was Tony Curtis, who was Marilyn's co-star in Some Like It Hot. As one of Marilyn's most popular features, her performance alongside Tony in the film remains one of the ways fans know the actress best. Because of this, her image has become intrinsically tied with Tony Curtis, making it easy for the public to be convinced the two might have actually been in love. Almost immediately after Curtis filmed Some Like It Hot, critics began drilling him about what it was like to kiss one of the most lusted-after female celebrities of the time. Tony memorably was quoted as saying that kissing Marilyn was akin to kissing Hitler, a recently deceased political figure. Of course, the public was shocked to hear this claim, though Tony later claimed the quote had been taken out of context. According to Tony, he had said the remark sarcastically because he felt the question was absurd. If Tony's rectifications of his infamous remark are to be believed, he found the notion the interviewer would even need to ask whether kissing Marilyn was enjoyable or not to be ridiculous. Tony apparently enjoyed kissing Marilyn very much, so much so they might have even had an affair. Marilyn was already one of the biggest stars in Hollywood at the time, and Tony Curtis was comparatively not as big of a deal. Over the course of her tragically short lifetime, Marilyn was romantically involved with heavy hitters like Frank Sinatra and Joe DiMaggio, with the actress seemingly having been able to get pretty much any man she wanted. If Tony is to be believed, his name can be added to the list of men Marilyn Monroe was romantically involved with. Not only that, Tony claimed before his death that he had gotten Marilyn pregnant during their affair. Marilyn was married to playwright Arthur Miller at the time, and the two were actively trying to have a child together. Marilyn was verifiably pregnant during filming of the movie, though she later publicly suffered a miscarriage. Tony went on to claim the child Marilyn was pregnant with was his, though Marilyn wasn't alive to verify this. If Marilyn and Tony were truly involved in an affair during the filming of Some Like It Hot, then perhaps Tony's remarks regarding his female co-star and Adolf Hitler had been an attempt by the actor to cover their tracks, since Tony didn't come forward with the tale of the supposed affair until long after Marilyn's 1962 death. We'll likely never know the truth. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First for more, and stick around for more about Marilyn and Tony. Although Tony Curtis's remarks comparing kissing Marilyn to kissing Hitler were certainly shocking, Tony adamantly maintained later in life that the remarks had been entirely sarcastic. According to the late actor, he'd simply become tired of hearing the same mundane question over and over again and wanted to provoke an interesting response to entertain himself. Other theories include the actor trying to cover his tracks regarding a possible extramarital affair that he and Marilyn may have been engaged in, or the possibility that Tony Curtis had simply felt true and honest loathing for his co-star. If Tony had been trying to disguise the fact that he and Marilyn were truly in love, then his Hitler remark worked. For decades after he made the remark, while doing press for Some Like It Hot, rumors persisted that the two stars despised each other. Marilyn passed away in 1962, only a few years after the supposed affair had occurred. She was never given the opportunity to speak up and clear her name. So the claims of Tony Curtis are the closest thing we have to go off of to make sense of what happened. Sadly, it's hard to tell exactly what the truth is given Tony's stories. While he claimed up until his death that he and Marilyn had actually been in love to the point where they'd been lovers during filming, many continue to question the truth of these claims. one thing remains certain, and that's that Marilyn Monroe was pregnant and later suffered a miscarriage. She and Arthur Miller had certainly been trying to have a baby to no avail, and they never ended up making good on their attempts. Meanwhile, Tony was married to actress Janet Leigh at the time, and the marriage certainly proved Tony wasn't impotent. The famous Hollywood couple went on to procreate, yielding subsequent Hollywood star Jamie Lee Curtis. Though Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller never had children of their own, Miller did have plenty of children from outside of the short-lived marriage. Marilyn never had any children during her life, dying in 1962 at age 36. She and Arthur had divorced a year prior, and her mental health subsequently took a sharp decline. According to Tony, he and Marilyn Monroe had made a pact with each other to tell Arthur Miller about the fact they'd been having an affair. During the confrontation is when Marilyn apparently revealed to both Tony and her husband she had become pregnant with Tony's child. Following this supposed confrontation, Tony went on to claim he was told by Some Like It Hot's creative staff that he needed to stay away from both Marilyn Monroe and her husband for the rest of shooting. He did so and ended up learning about Marilyn's miscarriage through a third party. It appears Tony and Marilyn didn't have much involvement after this, and Tony didn't speak about their relationship until many decades later. A few years before his death, Tony Curtis released an autobiography called American Prince, a Memoir. The book documented Tony's claims that he'd been involved in an affair with Marilyn, and he further elaborated on the claims in a making-of book detailing behind-the-scenes trivia about the movie. He would also often touch upon the subject in public interviews, referencing his famous remark regarding Marilyn and Adolf Hitler. Tony passed away in 2010 at age 85. Before he and Marilyn became involved in an extramarital affair on the set of Some Like It Hot, Tony Curtis also alleged he and Marilyn had been romantically involved a decade prior in 1949. While the public continues to question whether Marilyn and Tony could even stand to be around each other, Tony claimed up until his death that the times he spent with Marilyn had been some of the most unbelievable of his life. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Marilyn and Tony truly had an extramarital affair during the filming of Some Like It Hot? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts Verse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.